Hello, I'm here with Michelle tonight, and she is talking about an issue that she is having at work. So, would you like to start off by telling me what type of job that you do?
I'm the office manager for a funeral home, which we own three different locations, uh, owned here locally in Clark County. And between the three locations, there are, I'd say, five of us that work between the three locations altogether.
Okay. So, what kind of issue are you having at your job? Doesn't seem like there's a lot of people involved that you work with.
It's not so much the people as I think it's just morale. I think right now, just everybody's morale is just really low, and nobody's happy. I mean, not that they're not unhappy, but just I think they're just overworked and just wore out.
Okay. So, do you think having low morale might have something to do with working at a funeral home?
No, not so much that. Once you're in this kind of business, you've been in it long enough. I mean, it's not because of the business. I think it's just because of the hours and how busy we've been over the past 5 to 10 years versus the years before that. It just makes it hard when we're just small staffed to try to do the business base that we do without having the extra hands to do it.
Sure. So, has there been any mention from anyone about adding more staff than just five of you if you were that busy?
No, we do have a couple people that we used as part-time as needed to help on services. But as far as having any other full-time employees, no. I mean, that would be very beneficial to have if we did have one extra full-time employee versus just the part-times that are just we call in to help when needed.
So has it always been like this?
Yes and no. Several years ago, we did have one other funeral director, and he ended up leaving and starting his own business, and just never did replace having another director in the business because at the time the owners' parents were also helping, but that situation has changed when his father passed away, and his mother, she's not able to help like she used to. So I think that kind of changed the way we did things quite a bit as well.
So what do you think you can do to change any of these situations?
To be honest, I have no clue. I mean, you try to be nice and try to be upbeat and try to help where it's needed, but I think it just comes down to the point when everybody's just tired. I mean, and that happens with any job, but I think when you work 2 full weeks straight without a day off and as busy as we are, it just makes everybody a little cranky, I think.
Sure. So what are some typical hours?
Typical hours, it varies. I mean, there could be a couple days where you go in at 8 and you can leave at 4 if it's quiet. But most of our days now are coming in at 8 or earlier than that, depending on if we have a service at a certain time. So you can figure if we have a service, you're coming in at least at 7 to get everything picked up, cleaned up, ready to go. And if you have another visitation, you're there until 8 o'clock that night or to whenever the family leaves, and then back at it the next day. So the hours just vary from when we have services and when we don't.
So is your type of job, would you say, a tedious type of job? Or is it more busy work depending upon the day?
I don't think it's tedious. I think it's just more the type of profession that it is. I think just in general, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, not so much the bosses or anything like that, just to make sure you have everything the way you would want it if it was your family member. So I think that kind of adds a little bit of stress trying to be perfect all the time. So, because you're dealing with somebody's loved one and, that's a difficult time for them. And you want to try to make it as easy as possible for them to get through the next couple days without something being wrong.
Yeah. So why do you think that it's stressful for you? Like, why are you putting that stress on yourself?
Stress in general is just, with any job, it's just some days are chaotic where you're answering the phone, it's ringing every 2 or 3 minutes, and you're trying to get everything ready for the next family coming in. You're trying to get ready for a visitation, or you have a family already in and you're trying to answer questions for them and put their flowers out. And it's very multitasking, I guess I should say. So, I mean, and I think that's where everybody kind of gets a little frazzled too, because you're trying to do so many different things and at so many different times and places that sometimes you just kind of get scatterbrained and don't know what you need to be doing and what you don't know to be doing.
Sure. So, what do you think your role is as a whole in your line of work at your company? Do you feel valued?
Some days, yes, and then other days, no. And I think that's probably typical with any job out there. You have really good days, then you have really bad days. And I don't think there's any perfect job out there that you would never feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
And most days, you feel like you accomplished something and that you've done something good to help somebody else, and that makes you feel good. And then you have some days where maybe it's been a very difficult family and a very tragic death or just something out of the ordinary, which makes it even more stressful, and just trying to console them and meeting their wants and needs. And it can be very draining on top of that. So
how would you handle a situation if a family is being very particular about things, if you can't honor their wishes? How does that happen?
A lot of the times we try to accommodate the best that we can. Mm-hmm. And there's been times where we just can't do what they would like us to do, either for legal reasons or just there's just no way you can possibly do it. There's been, for example, say we've had a car accident victim and the family's really wanting to have an open casket and open viewing. Well, in certain situations, we do all we can to try to restore that person so they are viewable, but there's situations where it's just not recommended, and you just have to let them know that's not how they want to see them like that.
Sure. So do you think any of that falls upon you as office manager to have to tell any of the families this?
On my end, more or less, a lot of the times, I don't have to be the bearer of bad news. Now, there are times where the families will call and you'll just kind of have to explain to them, what's going on. And, if they have other questions when they come in, then I'll kind of pass that on to the director that was handling that case. That way, they can kind of explain a little more in detail, especially if I wasn't on that case and know the particular situation of what's going on.
Sure. So, are you the only one at your place of business at the funeral home that has the title office manager?
I am. As of now, I'm the only office manager. I do have another lady that does come in and help and works in the office with me. She actually usually stays up at one of our other locations, but when we're not busy, she'll come down and help. And that's kind of been a very good thing for me. It kind of took off a lot of the stress that I had, especially trying to get 20 different things done, and I couldn't get them all done. So with her, it's been a big help.
So with you not being able to get what you feel like, what work you needed to be done, have done for that day, how do you handle that? What choices could you make to get from point A to Z for the day on your list of things to do?
I take the highest priority of cases depending on what I have to finish, especially usually I try to go through each case, get all the death certificates done. That's the number one thing, because all the families are going to need a death certificate to do any of their legal paperwork. And we'll need any of that too. So that's number one on my list of things to do. Regardless of how far in the cases I get, all death certificates need to be number one. That way they're sent to the doctors, so at least they're there. And then we can work on doing other projects as they come along.
Okay. So at the beginning, when we started talking, you said that some days were good and some days were bad. How can you, what kind of plan could you come up with on your own to make sure that you have a good day every day?
Maybe go to bed early and get a little extra sleep. I know that's hard to say. I just try to be nice to all my guys there, because I know they work their tails off and they're doing the best that they can do. And I know everybody gets grumpy and everybody has bad days. And then sometimes you just kind of have to throw that out there that, hey, you need to do something different or change what you're doing, because nobody likes it. We're kind of a close-knit bunch, being there's only the 5 of us, so it's more like family than it is coworkers. So we can kind of get away with hey, you're kind of being a jerk, let's reevaluate what's going on and change the atmosphere a little bit.
So you mentioned guys. Are you the only female that works at each place of business?
Yes, I've been the only female there for several years. And like I said, the other lady that has started coming down from the other funeral home, she's probably been helping me the last couple of years. But overall, yes, it was only myself and then the owner's mother who used to help.
So the dynamics are just really sort of different for you some days. You're the only female and a bunch of men.
Yes.
So do you sometimes feel lost in that translation of what they assume your role is and what your role is?
Not so much. I mean, once upon a time, I think I kind of felt like that, but over the years, I think they kind of see me as an equal versus being, oh, well, she's a woman, she can't do stuff because, I mean, yes, there's some things that I can and cannot do, but in a pinch, I mean, I can do exactly the same things they do, and they know that. So I guess that's kind of where, you have your job in the office and trying to run and manage everything and make sure all your funerals are in order and placed. And then, if you do get thrown that, well, hey, I need you to go do this, you're kind of dropping what you need to be doing to help them. But that's just kind of like with anything else, it's a give and take. So, I mean, they help me in the office if I need them to from time to time, and I try to help them as much as I can.
Okay. So for next session, I want you to come up with a list of 3 things that you can do to improve the morale for yourself at work. Because deep down, you really can't improve everyone else's morale until you've improved your own. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So thank you for sharing with me tonight.
Thank you.